Now on Enough Said with KFAN Radio's Dan Barrero.
Because of Glenn Taylor being Glenn Taylor, frankly, that it was going to be same old.
Attorney and HoldingCourtPodcast.com's Ron Rosenbaum.
Arguably the worst franchise in the history of all professional franchises.
Enough Said.
Try to get it back to Carter. Turn it over, and Hemsky's in for Dallas. Hemsky waits for support. Back to Fetzer. He scores.
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name's Dan Barrero. Ron Rosenbaum is back with us again. Good to see you. And Lori Fisher will help us out, kind of get us started in what I think we'll agree it might be a little more of a sportsy show than we've had in the past, but there's plenty to discuss. Lori.
Well, she's also dressed, which I think is
also helpful.
Makes it either a better or a worse week.
That is an inside joke. Let's kick off with the Wild. Losing to Dallas in Game 1 of the playoffs. Are we already doomed with what we could call the Dallas curse? We have a team that used to be ours in Dallas, and don't forget that Hail Mary pass back in 1975 against the Cowboys. Dan?
Well, it's the series is probably already over. It probably was over before it began. And here's the added part of the nightmare, Ron. Norm Green, a guy that you helped run out of this town, we'll get to that in a minute, was in the crowd last night, beautiful people's seats. So you're getting humiliated. I don't even remember what the final score was. 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. It doesn't matter. We were not competitive in any way, shape, or form. And there's the guy who presided over taking our North Stars south. And as I mentioned, some of that you're willing to admit today is on you.
Well, first of all, I don't know why you point the finger at me. I'm a lawyer. My job is to represent Norm Green. Horrible, horrible things had been done to Norm Green
of course.
In this town, as you know. He needed a champion, and that was me. And then, sadly, because really of ink-stained wretches like you.
I'm a little negative.
Oh, well, not a little negative. You guys destroyed him in the media such that it was dangerous for him to even come back.
Yeah, that's what
so Norm and I helped move the team to Dallas, and it's history ever since. But don't forget the football aspect of Dallas.
Oh,
and
the old-time fans
maybe
never will.
The worst trade in the history of all football was engineered by Mike Lynn, and it was loved for the first minute. Remember that famous minute where Herschel Walker, whatever the hell his name was, came running down the field, lost his shoe.
First handoff.
Right, and we thought we had the Super Bowl.
We go further back.
So why blame Dallas?
We can't. We have to blame our own ineptitude, but let's go further back than that. Hail Mary. You're old enough to remember it. I'm old enough to have watched it from afar. The famous Roger Staubach pass in which Drew Pearson did or didn't push off.
Get over it already.
So people, this whole sort of, you want to call it curse, whatever.
See, you're like a Minnesotan, but you're not. You're even worse.
How?
All you do is whine about things that happened years ago. We made some mistakes.
Right.
We did some stupid things. We drove poor Norm Green out of town. Maybe Drew Pearson pushed off, but it's old news, Dan.
Well,
we've just been had by the city of Dallas. Accept it and move on.
Well, here's the other kicker. When Norm Green decided that he wanted to kind of check out Dallas as an option, the guy who he went to decide who are we going to meet with, who are the movers and shakers in Dallas, the guy who opened those doors, Roger Staubach, the same guy who threw the Hail Mary pass. And by
the way, has he been successful in Dallas?
Well, he's not even owning the team anymore. They won.
Well, he has good seats.
Okay,
they won
we have to move on.
In Dallas. They didn't win one.
How many have we won here?
We have a combined 0, unfortunately.
Let's move on to the Timberwolves. Enough said with that. Their season ending this week, 29-53. Owner Glenn Taylor hiring a search firm to help find a new head coach and team president. That means Sam Mitchell is out. Here he is after Wednesday night's game.
I take a few weeks off, like everybody, and I'm sure you guys see me around. I'll be around until they tell me, don't come around no more. So
I wish they come back next year, too. I hope they do, because we all have a relationship together. I think we're all growing together.
What does this mean to the team and for next season, Ron?
Well, pretty soon they're going to tell Sam.
They already did.
We don't want you around anymore. I think it's a positive. I think it's the first time I've ever seen this franchise, arguably the worst franchise in the history of all professional franchise. I don't care if you want to talk about David Kahn or Trader Jack or the Joe Smith debacle, on and on and on. But now they have arguably 3 bona fide stars. Why not on day one say, Sam, we love you. You did a great job. You're not going to be the guy to take us to the next level. Let's find the guy. I think it's going to be Tom Thibodeau, although it would not break my heart if it was Van Gundy. I'd love to see Van Gundy. He was kind of a flip guy.
Right.
But we need to move into the big leagues,
this is what...
You agree with me?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what a lot of us have been waiting for and my fear was, because of Glenn Taylor being Glenn Taylor, frankly, that it was going to be same old, and we're going to go
Kevin McHale back.
We're going to go with names we know, or we're going to keep Sam here. We're going to keep inside the country club. He's opened the door to the possibility that he finally understands he has a great chance here to build on a wonderful young core. However, let me be negative again. I want to see it.
Can't you be positive?
I want to see him be willing to spend. You know, to get Tom Thibodeau, you know what it's going to cost?
I don't.
$7-8 million a year. It shouldn't matter.
I don't
to
understand
Taylor.
the economics of the NBA. They bring journeyman guys in who've made 3 free throws out of 100, and they're shooting 27% for the field, and they're journeyman guys for $9.5 million a year.
But Thibodeau
bring in the damn coach.
Is worth it, but you got to spend, and you got to be willing to spend long term.
Does he want to come?
This is the word is he does. Okay. The word is he is at least interested. But you got to for the first time in the history of this franchise, they're in literally the first time the position where they are attractive to people. So the coaches who were considered the best names, you mentioned Van Gundy, Thibodeau, even Scotty Brooks, although he could end up in Washington, they want to come here. And we've never been in this spot before in this town, so don't blow it.
How similar is this to when they had Marbury and Garnett, and it looked like the amazing 2 were going to lead us to the promised land?
That lasted about a week and a half.
Well, it lasted about a week till Marbury decided, I'm better than Garnett.
My
can't
ego
stay
can't handle it.
But you're right. We may, for the first time, I mean, this franchise has been around since like 1989.
Correct. That's it.
Somewhere around there. Wouldn't it be nice to actually be in the mix?
Yeah. Well, that's what they have a chance to do if they continue to show the aggressiveness. And you know, I've kidded about the country club. The idea that they're actually looking outside of it, although, as you mentioned, Van Gundy and Flip were very tight. And they had even talked, I think, from time to time about
Van Gundy coming. What would Flip do today?
Well, Flip would he'd still be coaching.
Enough said.
That's true.
Let's move on. Breaking news from AMC Theaters, a move I think you guys are going to applaud. The company was floating the idea of allowing text messaging in a few theaters, saying millennials might feel a little bit more at home. But then, as I said, breaking, check this out. AMC tweeting now, no texting at AMC, won't happen. You spoke, we listened. Quickly, that idea has been sent to the cutting room floor. Dan.
Well, first of all, it's inevitable, even if they said this time no, it's going to happen.
Correct. I think it's already happening.
And that's the kicker. It's a distinction without a difference. Every movie I go to now, you got the contrast of the big screen in front of you, and then this flashing light from down below, which is the brilliance of all these little cell phones and smartphones, in which people, they're so self-absorbed they cannot put the damn things away for even.
Well, why don't you buy the good seats? You know, the fancy leather seats.
The Barca Lounge.
Yeah, you won't see any of these people. You're too cheap. If you do that, you wouldn't see them. But I think the next step is not going to be tweeting. I think the next step is going to be like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where the millennials
dress up,
who we have to keep happy.
We do.
Okay, we have to keep the millennials happy. Let them act out. I mean, I'd like to see one of the millennials do On the Waterfront maybe better than Marlon Brando. It's certainly possible. My solution would be this: let's have one theater for all the nitwits who want. I don't care if they want to yell or they want to scream or they want to have sex or they want to. I don't care what they want to do. They're in one theater, and all the old farts like us
who actually go to watch the film.
Well, actually, they're stupid, but we do. We actually want. First of all, we can't hear anyway.
No, there is
so
that
it's very
too.
Careful. Any tweeting is going to knock it out. Why not just have 2 theaters? How complicated is this?
That may be the solution. But again, how and why did it come to this? Why is it, if you decide to go to see, if you make the effort.
Have you walked down the street?
Why
you
not
can't have a conversation with
watch
anybody because they're reading something that's more interesting than you're telling them. This must affect you on the radio.
They also we live in this world where you want to be in your own theater, act that way. But can we acknowledge that we're
Coming up on Enough Said.
But the question is, why can't we just have bathrooms for everybody?
Over the last summer, I encountered a biological male standing in the women's locker room, watching women shower and typing on his phone.
This bill treats my son like a dog because he can't pee inside.
Emotional testimony at the state capitol this week. It's the debate over the bill that would ban transgender people from using bathrooms based on the sex they identify with. It actually won't get a vote here this year. You have one side saying it's discrimination, the other side saying it's a safety issue. The law did pass in North Carolina. Ron.
Do you remember? You might be too young when we were young.
I'm not that young.
Well, in elementary school, when we actually had something important to worry about, we got under our desks, okay, a couple times a day, and put our head like this. I don't know how it was. Radiation must have been in a different form.
Oh, the nuclear.
Right, because your hand could actually protect you.
And the desk.
Well, the desk partially, but you needed the hand as well.
Right.
And you were actually protected from radiation. And this was a big issue. But nuclear war was a big issue during the Cold War. Now we're in the year 2016, and transgender bathrooms are the main issue in the country. My question is this. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anybody who's transgender. I never even knew the term.
You don't know if you don't know anybody who's transgender.
Well, you're right. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I respect them. I respect everybody. Whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't really
think you
fully
care.
understand. But
Right.
it's fine. But the question is, why can't we just have bathrooms for everybody? So it says male and female.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have two heads. I don't care if you have split genitals. I don't care if you're transitioning to transition in or out.
Direction.
Just go in the bathroom, lock the door. I don't care who goes in. I don't care who goes out. Why can't we do that?
Well,
why does this need to be such a problem today in America? Don't we have bigger problems?
We should have bigger problems. I think the percentage I saw, and who knows, I don't know how anybody comes up with these numbers, is the number of transgenders in the United States is like 0.3% of the population, which would suggest this really shouldn't be whatever. This should not be that big of an issue.
But it's a bill in front of the legislature.
It's a massive issue, apparently, according to some. That was you stole my thought, which is, if we really don't think there are any reasons we have segregated to start with on whatever lines you want. And by the way, I learned that until like 1800, there was no designation in bathrooms at all. And this is a relatively more recent.
By the way, except black and white.
Well, there was. You're right about that. That's true. Why not, like you say, just say, come one, come all. If there's no comfort involved or any potential fear involved, let's do it. Let's go with a group. And in some cases, not just a single stall, whatever, because in malls or restaurants, whatever, you can't have that many locked doors. Open it up if there's no concern.
When I was in grade school, I can tell you, I looked around. There were some people, I'm not even sure there were human beings in the bathroom with us. But nobody seemed to care. My attitude is, get this out of the legislature.
Did you know this, by the way?
Just solve the problem.
Okay, one more thought and we have to move on.
I was just going to say real quick that I do think, I don't think you have to be anti-transgender to get a little confused about identity anymore and what defines it. Apparently on Facebook, you have, for example, 58 gender options of how you perceive yourself. 58, including bigender, androgynous,
How many
cis,
do you fit, by the way?
I don't know. So this is a whole, for a lot of the population, which I don't think necessarily has to be anti any of this, there's still, I think, we're trying to come to grips with what exactly are we dealing with.
Sorry, we have to move on,
I'd like
you
to
guys.
come to grips by moving on.
I'm with you.
Let's come to grips with Adrian Peterson. Up close with Adrian on social media. He went on social media to talk about his faith and how he deals with life's obstacles. Take a listen to what he shared on Instagram.
I'll give you a little bit of advice from me and how I handle it. I keep pressing forward. Because at the end of the day, people want to see you fail. God want to see you be successful.
This video comes nearly a year after his 7-month ban from the NFL ended. Is this a sign of redemption, Dan?
Well, first of all, I'd like both of us to rank. If I'm ranking my favorite philosophers, I got Aristotle up pretty high.
Well, there's Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa as well.
Well, Adrian's got to be up there.
Somewhere in between.
Okay.
You know, I don't know what he's up to. I don't know what the whole point of this was. The part that bugged me either
was he
in what he
said
or well, I don't know what he was doing. Or in the statement was, worry more about your character and not how you are perceived. And to which I would say to Adrian, yeah, take that advice. Worry about your own character a little more and don't put out another statement that basically seems to indicate, man, you know what? The folks tried to victimize me, and I end up standing as if something happened to him and he had no responsibility. I'm just so sick
if you read it very carefully, and nobody reads Adrian Peterson comments more carefully than I do.
Nuance.
I think he's comparing himself to Jesus. Jesus was put upon, and he was tortured, and he was put on the cross, and so was I. I got all my money back, and basically I wasn't punished
all my
at all,
endorsements.
and I got a year arrest. But look at what they did for me. And all I did is beat the living hell out of my kid. And why I still think, Dan, he doesn't think he did anything wrong.
And you know what he might have mentioned in there, on a lighter note? Working on the fumbling. Instead of the philosophizing, how about holding on to the ball, Adrian?
He seems a little weak on lighter notes. I think that he missed the fumble. The fumble was as important in the final game as his field goal, was it not?
Coming up on Enough Said.
Especially in baseball, you got to let it play out. The old adjustment to the adjustment. Pitchers start figuring some stuff out.
Well, didn't that happen with Santana from the year before?
Absolutely.
I know we've said this before, and it kind of gets redundant, but, we're 9 games into the season now. 0-9 sucks. It does. It's bad. But we got a lot of baseball left to play. And I think this is when a man's true character is revealed. Anyone can be happy and work hard when things are going their way, but when your back's against the wall and it's looking bad, and this is when your true character comes out.
You know what's better than 0-9, 73-9? It's what the Golden State Warriors just did.
They went the whole season, Dan, 82 games,
and
lost 9 games. We're at 9 games.
The best ever.
Now.
We're already 9 down. We can't. So we can only match them the rest of the way, which I don't think we're going to be able to do. You're old enough to remember the term free swinger in baseball, correct? The whole concept of a free swinger might strike out a lot, but you accept that burden because that same guy is going to drive the ball out of the park a lot.
Guys like Babe Ruth were free swingers.
Correct. Now,
Harmon Killebrew in some ways was a free swinger.
Very much so. What's the problem here? Well, we've got a bunch of free swingers in that they strike out at an alarming, record-breaking rate, but they ain't giving you the other stuff, which is the home run, the 3-run home run, the 3-run triple. It is as bad as it's been here offensively.
I've followed baseball my whole life. There are 3 guys on that team, I'm sorry, this is a wing and a prayer, that when they have 2 strikes on them, Sano, Buxton, Bunghole Park, if I'm pronouncing his name right, they got no shot. Pitchers in the American League have already figured out there's 14 different pitches that we can strike these guys out on. And so the idea is don't get to 2 strikes in the first place. They're incapable. I blame the whole team for building a team that was based on hope that wasn't in reality. Why did we think the center fielder, who's the greatest prospect that ever,
he's a great
if he
defender.
can get on first base, he
defender.
can steal second base.
Yeah.
He can't get on first base. And ironically, as you mentioned earlier, the only guy who's actually hitting is Joe Mauer. But he's not a team leader.
No, he's not that. But here's the other thing. Sano, everybody assumed that because he was brilliant when he came up last year, that we'll just pencil him in as a perennial MVP
It
guy.
is so dangerous.
And it is, especially in baseball. You got to let it play out. The old adjustment to the adjustment.
Enough said. Let's just leave it right there. It's time for the lightning round. Let's kick off with the sirens Tuesday morning. I know you're going to make fun of me, but I admit for a moment I thought we were under attack until I went to Twitter because something was not right since there was no severe weather. It turned out to be a computer glitch in Hennepin County. Dan.
I'll say this directly to Lori and to everybody else.
Were you
to
scared?
And our audience. No, but she was. I'm gonna say this once. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be okay. It was unfortunate. I understand. Wonder what could that be? You know what most of us did? We said, all right, there's a million ways to communicate right now. Twitter, you turn on your TV, and if it's the end of the world, isn't there a decent shot somebody's going to be talking about on there? And if they're not, it means somebody hit a button.
The problem
and the siren is not
watching the people with hearing aids going because it hit just the right tone.
Yeah.
Next up, a former Mrs. America Minnesotan actually charged with theft by swindle. Jennifer Klein accused of buying thousands of dollars of clothes at Macy's and then returning other clothes with the new clothes tag. Ron.
Well, I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair.
If you were her attorney.
If I was her attorney, one of the things I'd say is you get a special perk for being Miss America. If you want to steal some clothes from Macy's, and they're clothes you really need, don't we want our Mrs. Minnesota looking better than, say, Mrs. Iowa and Mrs. I think Mrs. North Dakota is now covered with oil, so she's not even in the deal anymore.
Next.
I say it's nothing.
Next up. Okay, nothing. A racial charged joke by Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and New York's mayor has created quite the controversy. Ron, you're up.
Well, there's an old rule about it. That when you're not funny, don't try to be. There's no human being less funny than de Blasio except Hillary Clinton.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
So
well
they
said.
make this, this is really, and by the way, if this had been Donald Trump, it wouldn't even be an issue. He said, I would have meant colored people's time.
True.
Black people love me. They're going to vote me in thousands. But, the Democrats are putting their head, oh, my God, how can we do this?
Okay,
the moral is you're right. Don't try to be Shecky Green when you can't be. Whether it's whether it's racial or not, just don't.
Okay,
Bad
Super Bowl
idea.
2018. Let's go with NCAA capping college football bowl games instead of 41 or proposed 44, but they're going to stick to 41 at least for the next 3 years. Still too many, Dan?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate.
What a courageous move.
That's the move. NCAA said we're taking a stand. No more than 41 meaningless bowl games, 82 teams, even though apparently 3 more wanted to be involved. And by the way, this moratorium, it ain't forever. It's only 2 or 3 years, I think, and then we'll reconsider. The whole system is
the idea was once Minnesota went in with a losing record. When I grew up, there were 4 bowl games. They actually meant something.
On New Year's Day,
now we have
wonderful. We got to keep moving on. Super Bowl 2018 still nearly 2 years away, but it's expected to bring in a lot of money. Ron.
Well, first of all, nobody wants to come to Minnesota. No, they don't.
Why are you anti-stadium?
Honey, let's go surfing in Minnesota in February. This was all a back deal where Goodell dealt from the bottom of the deck and said, listen, we'll give you a Super Bowl. You give us $500 million. Don't read the damn contract. There'll be seat licenses you won't see.
That's not the question she asked.
Boondoggle.
The issue is it's worth billions to the community financially.
How are you going to benefit?
I checked out my abacus.
Oh, you'll increase your ratings on the radio show. It's always about you.
Minnesota, Jared Allen retiring as a Viking. Dan.
It's emotional. They did the one-day thing where
I thought he rode off into the sunset.
He did. He was a good player for this club.
Yeah, he was.
The old calf roper was a good player, and I guess if he ends up in the Hall of Fame, apparently,
why did they all choose
he'll have somebody from the
What's
Vikings
so
who introduce
special about us? He was at Kansas City. I thought it was nice.
I thought it was cute.
It was very nice.
Very sweet. We're happy for Jerry.
We're together on something.